now it is notable. So who will read today? Arjunadi, can you read?
Now it is notable that with a slight but important variation of language, the Gita describes in the same way both the action of the divine in bringing about the ordinary birth of creatures and his action in his birth as the avatar. Leaning upon my own nature, Prakritim Swam Avasthabhya, it will say later, I lose forth variously, Sarjami, this multitude of creatures helplessly subject owing to the control of Prakriti. Avasam Prakriter Vasar. Standing upon my own nature, it says here, I am born by myself Maya. Prakritim Swam Adhishthaya. Atmamaya. I lose forth myself. Atmanam Shajami. The action implied in the word avasthabhya is a forceful downward pressure by which the object controlled is overcome, oppressed, blocked, or limited in its movement or working and becomes helplessly subject to the controlling power. Avasam Vasad. Nature in this action becomes mechanical and its multitude of creatures are held helpless in the mechanism, not lords of their own action. On the contrary, the action implied in the world adhishthaya is a dwelling in, but also a standing upon and over the nature, a conscious control and government of the indwelling Godhead, Adhishtatri Devata, in which the Purusha is not helplessly driven by the Prakriti through ignorance, but rather the Prakriti is full of the light and the will of the Purusha. Therefore, in the normal birth, that which is loosed forth, created as we say, is the multitude of creatures and becomings. Bhuta Gramam. In the divine birth, that which is loosed forth, self-created, is the self-conscious, self-extent, extent, sorry, self-existent being Atmana. For the Vedantic distinction between Atma and Bhutani is that which is made in European philosophy between the being and its becomings. In both cases, Maya is the means of the creation or manifestation. But in the divine birth, it is by self Maya. Atma Maya, not the involution in the lower Maya of the ignorance, but the conscious action of the self existent Godhead in its phenomenal self representation, well aware of its operation and its purpose, that which the Gita calls elsewhere Yogmaya. In the ordinary birth, Yogmaya is used by the divine to envelop and conceal itself from the lower consciousness. So it becomes for us the means of the ignorance, avidya maya. But it is by this same Yogmaya that self knowledge also is made manifest in the return of our consciousness to the divine. It is the means of the knowledge, Vidya Maya, and in the divine birth, it so operates as the knowledge controlling and enlightening the works which are ordinarily done in the ignorance.
It's a very interesting para, and I remember that I used to have a problem with this because the divine is there in a human body fully consciously, it's an avatar. But the divine is there in everybody's body. All of you also, and me also, the divine is there within us, but we are not conscious of it. Okay, that's the only difference. The avatar is fully conscious of his divinity, and we are not conscious of our divinity, but we can be future avatars. It's possible because everybody has got the divine within themselves. But when you become conscious of your divinity and master of your nature, then you are an avatar. So this is the discussion here in the paragraph between the two. The ordinary creature when it takes birth and the the avatar when he takes birth. What is the difference? That is the discussion being discussed here with the two words avashtabhya and adhishthaya. Okay, so we'll have a look at what he said. Now, it is notable that with a slight but important variation of language, the Gita describes in the same way both the action of the divine in bringing about the ordinary birth of creatures and his action in his birth as the avatar. What's the difference? Okay, so this is the discussion being done here. Then double quote, she is quoting, leaning upon my own nature, Prakritim Swam Avashtabhya. Okay, the uh, dot under the S and dot under the T make it T like in English, not the. Okay, so Avashtabhya. It will say later, I lose forth variously. Visrijami. Visrijami, I let loose. Srij is to ooze out. Okay? Is to ooze out and therefore create also. And Visrijami, V is the one that makes multiple. In multiple ways, I release myself. So, and because that again, you get back to the idea of the one becoming the many. If the many evolves out of himself only one, then it is not Visrijami, it is Srijami. But Visrijami, multiple, I bring out my from myself multiple types of things. Okay, so this multitude of creatures helplessly subject owing to the control of Prakriti, Avasham Prakriter Vashat. So Avasham helplessly, okay, helplessly all creatures are subject to Prakriti's laws. It is Prakriti that dominates every human being until he realizes himself that he is the soul and not the body mind life. Then you look down as a witness. You look down, but now you are not, the soul is not controlled, is not in control of the body mind life. The body, but it is itself free. Okay? Prakriti does not control the soul when it escapes from the body mind life. Okay? But neither has got the soul the capacity to change the body mind life. That capacity of the soul to change the body mind life comes only at the third level in the supramental. Okay. All you can do normally with liberation is get away from the prison. But you are not being able to change the prison. The prison is dirty, okay? The walls are broken down, there's dirt in the corners, the walls are grimy, okay? But you can do nothing about it. You have escaped from the prison and you are happy. But when you go to the third level, you can even clean up the prison cell, okay? The prison cell is your body, mind, life. So that is the discussion being done here. So, okay? So, very clearly he has told you the difference between an ordinary birth and the birth of the divine. But it's the avatarhood is a very complex phenomenon. Okay, so we'll have a look at it. In fact, no other um, religion or philosophy has the concept of avatarhood so clearly, because in our Indian system, everything is the divine. So therefore, it becomes very natural to say that everything is divine. The avatarhood is very, very possible, because the divine is himself come down into matter, but now matter is not conscious of the divine. But when it becomes conscious, then that will be the finale, uh, the climax of evolution will be when even the body becomes conscious of the divine. Okay, I go to the next one.
But Rangada,
Yeah, tell me.
in this sense, then we can't say that when Avatar does something, we can also do, because the Avatar has come consciously into the. So what is difficult for them, it is impossible for us, or what is difficult for us, it is easy for them.
Okay, you have raised a very interesting question. Okay, this is exactly what Niruddha was, accusing Sri Aurobindo of. Okay, he told Sri Aurobindo, you are divine, for you it is very easy, okay, but for us, we are human beings and we are in imperfection, it is so difficult for us. So Sri Aurobindo sort of dismissed this quite roughly, okay. He said that if what you say is true, then the avatar coming down and explaining and showing the way of liberation to others is a sham. It's a hypocrisy. It's not the real thing. So what you're saying is absolutely wrong. when the divine comes down, he takes on the burden and the ignorance of normal man. And then he shows how to get out of it by the divine power. Okay. So that is, he's saying that the avatar, when he comes down, it is not a pretense. It's a real coming down into ignorance and then liberating himself. Note interestingly how all the avatars had tremendous amount of difficulty, okay, in getting out. Okay, Buddha had to go through a long period of meditation. Okay, he had to give up his family and all. It's not easy to do that. Then Christ also, 40 days he was in the desert. Okay, so that also shows how that's a difficult period. Okay, so it is not like
No,
that.
but Ranganath, there are so many rishis in the Himalayas doing tapasya for so many years and years, but they have
Okay.
not become avatar.
No, they have
I
not.
mean, there are only one or two. I mean, one avatar per millennium or one avatar per an age. No,
Yeah, that's true. But what's your point then?
that means that I mean everybody is going through difficulty, but everybody doesn't become an avatar, right? That is
Okay.
what I'm asking.
Okay. I think what you're saying is that the divine descends into a human being when the human being is ready for it. Okay. If the divine descends into me now, I'll go mad absolutely because I'm not capable of it. My jar will be shattered. Okay. If you pour very heavy fluid into a jar
Yes,
which is unbaked, it will shatter. So
yes,
the avatarhood takes place in human bodies and human minds and vitals when it is almost ready to bear the burden and the
yes.
force. That's right. That's quite right. Because Mother and Surendra both have remembered their past lives. Okay,
Hmm.
Ramakrishna also remembered his past lives. Okay. So there is an evolution of the normal human being, and that's why I meant that everybody is a future avatar. But the divine does not choose everybody as an avatar. He only chooses some.
Hmm.
Okay, that's right.
Yes. So those who are
Rangada,
ready only can.
Pardon?
Those who are ready physically, mentally,
Ah,
psychologically, only then that
that's that's right. That's
essence
yeah.
appears.
So it's individually the avatar is the climax of the evolution, individual evolution. You can say that.
Rangada,
Yeah.
Rangada, in
Yes.
this chapter only, I think in the previous paragraphs,
Ah,
Sharon has mentioned that uh, our evolution, any
yeah.
human evolution or what is evolution. Matlab,
Yes.
from the inconscient, it is growing. But
Yes.
avatar is an evolution which comes directly conscious from, I mean, it doesn't grow from the inconscious. That's what I understood. Maybe I've understood wrong. The body and mind is prepared, and consciously the avatar um, comes from above. Like there is an involution and evolution, as you often mention, two
Ah,
stairs. So
yes.
avatar is not a process of involution, but a process of evolution from above.
Okay. So I think
Is it?
what I have understood is when Srirundu was born, he had a psychic being. Okay. He had a
Yes.
psychic being and he had past lives. Now he has come into this world. But when he came into the world, he did not know that he is an avatar. Okay.
Yes, no. I'm not telling that he knew that he was an avatar. I'm not telling that. I'm just talking about the process of avatarhood.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
it what I have understood? Is true. I'm not saying that he was conscious and that I agree. He went through all that ordinary human beings like consciously. Avatar accepts to go through everything, and then like my in a way you can say that he forgets that he is the avatar and then he grows to the avatarhood. That is the different thing after birth. What I'm
Okay.
saying is the process of birth
Okay. But
is
I'm
not.
just okay. I'm
uh
just saying another thing to you which you
I'm
consider.
asking, rather I'm not saying what I have understood. I'm
Yes.
asking you to clear whether I'm right or wrong. That's what.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. In 1924 or 1926, sorry, okay, the Sri Krishna himself, okay, his consciousness and himself as a person also descended consciously into Sri Aurobindo, and Sri Aurobindo realized his identity with Sri Krishna. Okay, so this is the divine At that point, you have become an avatar. Okay. Before that, Sri Aurobindo was an ordinary human being, but not rather I would say extraordinary human being with a tremendously developed mind, but human. And up to that point, he is human. It's not that right from the beginning, the avatar is there. Okay, I'll give you another example, then it will be very clear to you. In Sri Aurobindo's case, the avatarhood started, you can say, in a certain way on 26th November 24th November 1926. Okay, but there's another thing. What about what about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Okay, he was also a very ordinary human being, not very ordinary, rather very extraordinary human being, developed also. But the divine used to descend into him sometimes. And Sri Aurobindo said very interestingly, that's why this will help you to understand the phenomena. Chaitanya used to behave like the divine in some cases. At that time, he is the avatar. But that did not always happen. The divine consciousness does not always remain with him. Sometimes he is identifying himself with the novel consciousness. And that time, that's why Sri Aurobindo says he was a partial avatar. Okay. So the journey of an avatar begins from the bottom, in this sense that whatever you have evolved, you are ready now, and the divine descends into you. Okay. So maybe there are many. Yes, tell me.
Ranganath, I'll just read from this, the process of avatarhood.
Yes.
I don't know whether this is after this paragraph, after this chapter. Yeah. I think in the second paragraph there I was reading this avatarhood 2 days back. That's why I am asking this. Second paragraph, process of avatarhood, the last sentence. Yeah. He's saying, not by evolution or ascent like the ordinary man, the Gita seems to tell us. Not by growing into the divine birth, but by a direct descent into the stuff of humanity and taking up of its molds. In this paragraph, he's saying how like the previous sentence. That's why I think
No, so that is the next chapter, the process of avatarhood. So
yes.
I have made.
Okay, we'll discuss it when we come to it.
Yeah. So I have made one note which I'm just reading out: the human birth and the avatar. Okay.
Exactly, that's what.
Essentially, it's the same process. Essentially, but phenomenally different. And human birth is only into ignorance. Divine birth is into outer nature. It becomes fully conscious later on. The outer nature also becomes fully conscious. So anyway, we come to the process of avatarhood.
Okay, yes. Yes, Ranganath. Yes, I agree to that. Sorry, I didn't know that this is the later paragraph. It was a confusion I had.
Ranganath, one question.
Yeah.
Ram and Krishna knew from childhood they were avatars, no?
Yes. No, not from beginning. If you read Ramayana, you will see that Rama is a very ordinary person. When Sita has gone away, he's crying. He gets angry. Okay. So that is there. Krishna also. Krishna maybe. There is not enough information about Krishna, but what Ram is there in the Ramayana, he used to get angry and he used to get very disturbed and he's crying, and Lakshmana is trying to tell him that don't go like that. You are a superhuman person, don't cry like that. Okay. So he was ordinary. In fact, Rama is the avatar of the establishment of the moral law. Okay. Sri Krishna is the establishment, or he is the one who establishes the spiritual law. He takes now spiritual law becomes possible. And Sri Aurobindo is the avatar of the supermind. He is telling at each juncture, essential juncture of progress from one level to another level, it's always the avatar who does that. Okay. It's always the avatar who does that. That's what Sri explains. So anyway, that process of avatarhood is a very interesting question. We will have a look at that later on. But when you keep these things in mind, yeah, tell me.
Then who is the avatar for the Obermind?
That is
Upamai
Swarup
Naka.
who makes that
Shri
possible.
Krishna.
Swarup is the avatar of the Superman.
I mean Upamai.
Yeah,
Upama.
yeah.
Krishna.
Upamai.
That no, Krishna is of the overmind. He is the one of the spiritualization. He makes
Mhm.
spiritualization possible.
May I say something, please?
Go ahead.
Lord Krishna is
Yeah.
from the overmind. That means he has not reached supermind.
No, no, he may have reached, he may not have established the supermind in himself. That these are questions which human beings like us, we can't answer very easily. He may have experienced it. He may have certainly experienced it. That,
Because when we started essays of the Gita,
yeah,
you had taught us that there is one thing lacking in the Gita, which
yeah,
is that there is no mention of supermind there.
okay,
And so the Gita in that aspect is not 100% complete.
yes, okay. But
You know?
Sridhar also says that maybe the time was not ripe.
Yeah. It was not right for the supermind to descend.
That,
Uh, there is
yes,
one more thing. Uh, Amal had asked Sri Aurobindo
hmm.
that you are an avatar, why did you get married?
Huh.
So he said that I was the one who wanted to get married, but at that time I didn't know I was an avatar. So I
Exactly.
advertised in the paper. If I
Yeah,
had known I was an avatar, I wouldn't have got married.
that's, yeah. You're using different words, but it amounts to the same thing. That's exactly
Yeah.
what I told Arjuna. Exactly.
Yeah, so this is what he personally told Amal, because
Yes,
Amal had asked him questions on everything, on sex and horse racing, and he said each and everything under the sun I have asked him.
yes.
So
Yeah.
this was the question, and he said if I had known I was an avatar, I wouldn't have advertised in the paper for a bride.
He has not exactly used those words, but it amounts to that. Correct. What you
It
said.
is something like that.
Yes, yes. That's
Then, if you read last month's Mother India, the brightest period of the ashram, Mother in a conversation says that before the 24th of November, all kinds of divine beings used to come and they used to incarnate in various sadhaks and all that.
mm,
And she said that Krishna came to her
mm,
and she told Krishna that now you must incarnate in a body,
mm,
permanently, not
mm,
come and go and all.
mm,
So Krishna said, okay.
mm,
And then he descends into Sri Aurobindo's body. And
mm,
then mother goes and tells Sri Aurobindo that, Krishna has agreed to descend.
mm.
And he just says, yes, I know.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's a very interesting conversation.
Mm.
Uh, and mother said she laughed because he said, yes, I know.
Because
So,
if he has descended the same, though, how can he not know?
huh. So it was mother who told Krishna that now you have to permanently incarnate in a body, period.
Yes. But one thing is that these are all, you have to take in a very wide, broad sense. How do we know that Krishna decided to descend into Srirango only after mother told him? It's possible that he had already decided.
Yeah, maybe in the subtle physical, everything was decided. You
Subtle,
just had to manifest it on earth.
it's not subtle physical, but it is decided at the highest level. Okay? So, when you,
Whatever level, but it was decided.
uh, that's right. That's what Sridhar also says about the evolution. He says that if a decision has been taken, that the evolution has to go to the next step, then it becomes possible. And that's when the world conditions are ready. Okay, so this is in the next chapter, the possibility and the process of avatarhood. Here in this paragraph, he is only discussing the possibility and purpose. In the next one will be the process, of that process comes. But keep these things in mind. And also another thing I would like to point out, okay? Marriage does not imply that you are imperfect, okay? Very clearly, okay? Because sex has nothing to do with marriage, okay? Sex can be outside marriage, and it may not be in marriage also. And not only that, if you are completely removed from your body mind life, if you are not identified with your body mind life, okay, it's possible that that can happen, okay? So you must keep in mind very clearly that sex and marriage are two different things altogether. I'll just mention one more thing which will make it very clear to you, okay? Ramakrishna, when a young boy, he came to help his uncle in the Kali temple at Dakshineshwar. And when he came there, he was a young boy, and they said that you have to get married now. You are old enough to get married. And they selected somebody. And Ramakrishna very clearly told them, no, 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 not this girl at all. There is one girl who is marked out for me. And that is, she is there in Jairam Bhatti village. Okay. So very clearly he knew. And they never had a sexual relationship. Okay. But even when they are lying together, Ramakrishna is telling himself, see, she is there, she is available. I am going into subjects which will clarify your ideas. However, normally these things are not discussed, okay? But they are there all recorded. Okay. So he says that, look, she is there. Do you want to enjoy the sex? Then he says no. So he already had a, an inkling of his destiny. He is already telling that a girl has been marked out there for me. And that was the girl he got married to, Sharada Muni. Okay. So these are the things that one has to keep in mind. It's very complicated, but we have to have very subtle philosophy and a very subtle thing. So also remember that mother had a child. Okay. But I just give you one hint about it so that when you are undergoing that process, okay, the process of reproduction, there can be an identification with your vital, okay, and then you may have vital enjoyment and bodily enjoyment. But it is possible that it is just like drinking a glass of water. It makes no difference to you, okay. So it is like that, okay. So you must keep this in mind. You need not be. I'll tell you one thing which will give you a hint. Okay. Mother has said somewhere very clearly that I never had this sense of sin, that whatever I am doing can be not approvable or sinful. She never had the idea of sin. Now join this statement with her point that she had a son. Okay. For her, it was just like an ordinary, absolutely without any implication of all these things. It was just that she had to undergo the experience of motherhood. Okay, that's all. So keep in mind very clearly all these things. Okay? So these are all subjects which are not normally spoken about because they are misunderstood very often.
In
But
fact, Rangada, there are.
Yes.
In fact, Rangada, there are couples I know even now who are married, but they don't have, so-called marital affair. Or like
That's right.
there are couples which I know very well. I mean, like. Rangada, another thing, what I want to say is, I think I was not clear when I said, I'm not saying at all that the avatar is conscious that right from birth that he's an avatar. No, I'm just telling that about the process that instead of involution, the soul, instead of involution through going through all the processes which we go through, the soul of an avatar does not need to go through all that. That is all I said. But once he takes birth as an avatar, he is like any of us. And he grows into avatarhood in the present life. That's what I meant.
Okay.
I don't know how clear I am.
I understood what you're saying, Archana, but maybe that process that we have to undergo, the avatar has already undergone in his past life. That is why he is ready.
Okay, now I got you. That was particularly my question, Rangada, nothing else. That's
Now I understood your question, but the answer is exactly this. They have undergone the whole
okay.
same process, but much earlier in earlier lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Ranganath. Now
May
it's
I
clear.
may
Yes,
I say something?
yes, go
You
ahead.
know, a few days ago, I was talking about the ashram to a person,
Yes.
and that person told me, okay, mother has said that in the ashram there has to be no alcohol, no
Hmm.
politics, and no sex.
That's right.
But he says that when I go to the ashram, I
Hmm.
find each one having a girlfriend, boyfriend, and having sex. So,
Okay,
how is that permitted? I said
okay.
it's not permitted, but like it happens. And he says, no, I don't agree. He says, like, had a very low opinion of the ashram. So,
Ah.
how does one argue with such a person?
You don't argue normally. You also explain to them that having a boyfriend and a girlfriend doesn't mean that they are having sex.
No,
How does
he said that they do have sex.
how does he know? Of course, it does happen sometimes. Okay, that's there. But
So he says, so what are these sadhaks doing and all?
no, that happens.
I gave him the example of Kailash and Richard, where mother had said that you all will look after each other,
Hmm.
you know. But
Yes,
he says no. Um, how can you have that sort of a platonic relationship?
no.
And he says that no, these are all hypocrites, absolute hypocrites in the ashram.
So you don't argue with them. You just tell them that you okay, you live with your idea. So what's your problem? You don't like the ashram, don't go away. There's no problem. And let me expand on the idea, okay? I'll tell you something which will again make it very clear to you. The difference between friendship between a boy and a girl has nothing to do with necessarily it has nothing to do with sex. In the normal human consciousness, it is true that it happens. Okay, but I'll tell you something which will make you think. Okay, should love be absolutely discarded? Now, this is exactly what Srindu also says. These statements of Srindu seem to be very abstract and very philosophical, but they are absolutely, they have got very, very practical implications. For instance, he says that yoga starts with the normal human being, okay? And we don't reject any part of us. We don't reject anything, we transform them. Okay. Now take this in the, this also is very subtle because that doesn't mean to say that you are accepting hatred and you are accepting sex. No, it doesn't mean that. But you are accepting that the possibility is there in you and you are conquering them. Okay. So this idea that everybody in the ashram is having boyfriend and girlfriend and having enjoying sex is not correct at all. That's why it's not worth talking and discussing with them. Have they been caught by this man who is saying that? So how do you know? He is just thinking it is possible. It is true that nature will take its own course. It's true, largely true. But also remember the fact that we are not rejecting life. Okay, that's why it is. This is not. And I'll tell you another thing. Which all these things that I'm telling you, put them together, and the picture will become clear. Let me tell you one thing. There was a boy and a girl mixing, and not one case. I can give you two cases. They are even living in the ashram today. Okay, but mother said this person is not for you. Okay, but when that same person had a the example I'm giving, both have passed away. Okay, so I won't give names because you probably don't know them. But when this person became friendly with somebody else, mother said this relation is fine. Okay, then she permitted another case where she said this relationship is psychic. There is no problem in that. Okay, one of them is still living and one of them is passed away. So she allowed that. But in several cases, she said, no, this person is not for you. Okay, so this is the there is a natural affinity also between souls. Okay, and does not imply that there is this there's a relationship always an impure relationship. It can be a pure relationship. Okay, perfect platonic love between human beings is not absolutely possible, but it can happen. Okay, it can happen. So that man who was arguing with Yasmin, you don't argue with them. You just tell them that okay, you live with your idea. I have no problem with that. Why do we want to convince them? Everybody has got wrong ideas. He's also got wrong ideas. Let him bring. For him, it's the right idea. Let him live with that. No problem. Normally, we don't. Yeah, we don't argue
You
with.
know, once Amrita liked some lady in the opposite house. So Sri
Hmm.
Aurobindo told him, you please go to her.
Hmm.
So he went to her and did whatever. Then a time came and he said, now you will stop seeing her, period. And he stopped seeing her. So maybe there was something in him which had to be sort of fulfilled or satisfied. And then he said, now no. And he stopped.
Jasmine, I'll tell you the correct story. Okay, what you're saying is true, but not the opposite house or anything like that. When he was a 16-year-old boy when he turned to Srivamda. Okay, Amrita was in a village in Pondicherry, what you call Talpukur. On the way to Kadlur, there's a village, and he used to be there. When he was a 16-year-old, okay, he saw a light coming from that side and entering into this Pondicherry area. So he has been from the age of 16, he's trying to see Srivamda. Trying, but not succeeding. Okay, that's a long story, so I won't go into that. But Amrita secretly was going to the sea beach and meeting one particular girl. Okay, so that is the right, not in the opposite house, but in on the
But
sea beach.
it was something like that. So he
Yes.
encouraged him and then told him, now you stop.
No. There is no encouragement at all. There is no encouragement. But when the question of marriage came up, these stories get distorted. The real truth is this, that he was getting very friendly with her, and the family said, now you get married to her. So that time, Srivamda was told about it, and Srivamda said, no marriage for you at all. So he got very disturbed, and he said that, did you know about my relationship with this girl? Srivamda said, yes. Then why didn't you stop me earlier? So Srivamda, you can take it as humor, or you can also take it as testing Amrita's resolve. Okay, he said, I was seeing how far you will go. So you can take it as a sense of humor, but it's also in this sense that let me see how ready Amrita is for what I'm going to tell you. Okay, this was one case. Then the other case was also, he was from a very traditional Brahmin family, and he had a tuft of hair, the tikki he had. They shave their head, and only at the back of the head they keep that tuft. Okay, what is it called? Shika, I think, they call it. So one day, Srivamda ordered, I think, Dolida or someone to cut off his when he was sleeping. so, so slowly, Srivamda is leading him, okay, towards the right. Okay, but as a 16-year-old boy, he is joining Srivamda. He became the manager of Srivamda Ashram later on. Okay, so this was the story. He was meeting, and when Srivamda said marriage, no. Then he said, why didn't you tell me earlier? He said, I was seeing how far you will go. So this can also be, it can be interpreted as, let me see your resolve. Okay. Let me see whether you are subject to the normal human nature, or if I tell you not to, whether you will take it in the right spirit. He was disturbed. He was disturbed, but he took it. But when his shikha was cut, he was very disturbed because he had to go back to Madras, and what would my family say? Okay. So it was a big shock for him. But this is a man who,
And Ranga, the same story goes on that when he went to Madras that time,
uh,
his brother or his uncle had come, and
yeah,
they had fixed him. They were talking about a girl had been fixed for him, and when they
yes,
saw that, now who will marry you? Nobody will marry you. So probably
Exactly.
that I don't know where I've read it. I think Amrita does some small book in that. So
Yeah,
that means Sherwin saw to it, this, foresaw that probably this will happen. Something like this is coming up. So he cut off. That is what I've read.
that's right.
I think in.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That also makes sense. Similar by cutting
And
off his stuff, made sure that nobody
yeah,
would marry
nobody. Yeah, he won't be forced to marry. And his relations were coming to talk to him about the marriage when he went to
him.
Chennai.
That's right. So in that sense, Srimna was protecting him from marriage by cutting off his tuft. Yeah, yeah, very interesting.
Made
Anyway,
it easier for him.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Protected him, I said. Okay. So anyway, so these are all normally these things are not discussed. Okay, but you must be very clear about them. That it does not always mean that. Also, remember that.
Rangada, this talking of this topic, I'd like to add a little.
Yeah.
See, when I came here, I've come hardly 8, 9 years back,
Okay.
and when I come here, what Yasmin is saying, many people told me many sorts of things. Are why are you going there? You're don't and all that. I'm not getting into all that, and
Yeah.
I don't know why. But as soon as I came here,
Ah,
Pallavi knows I was given the work of doing medical examination of all the ashramites, female
yes.
ashramites.
Yes.
And in fact, in that 6 or 8 months,
Ah,
the first 8 months I was here, I almost, you can say, met almost all the females because and I realized that the freedom we have here
yeah.
and the type of life here is
Ah,
unbelievable.
yes.
I'm telling you, I've come from outside, it is unbelievable. The
Yes.
freedom we get here, if it was anywhere else, the
Yeah.
life would have been really topsy-turvy. I mean,
Yes.
that is my experience. And today, just because these things have come up, I
Yeah.
wanted to share this with you.
Ah, that's right.
Because
That's right.
that gossip, like everybody is having friends, so they are having all that is not a fact always. It may be there may be exceptions. I'm not saying that, but this time, and actually that is right what you told Ranga, that we should not argue because you can't convince anybody. They
Exactly.
have their opinion. I
And
just
by
wanted to
the
share this because in a
yes.
small group, usually I don't talk about all these, but I thought maybe because we are on that topic, I would say.
You are right. It's very what you said was very interesting. And let me point out another one thing also. Our idea of sex being something sinful and something dirty, okay, it's not necessarily so. Otherwise, why should the divine create that system? Okay, there is one thing. If you drink a glass of water and you drink a glass of whiskey, what is the difference physically? Is there any difference? You are drinking a liquid. Okay. So it is the result on you that makes the difference. When you drink a glass of water, nothing happens. There are no vibrations. But when you drink a glass of whiskey, the vibrations are wrong. Okay. And that is the one that impedes you. So it is possible. I'll tell you why. I'll give you an example, then you'll understand. It is possible to have sex without being absolutely remaining absolutely calm and detached without any attachment to it. It's possible. Let me tell you one thing. There's a lady called here um, Montgomery. Okay, she was an American, and she had a very interesting experience which I'm sharing with you. I'm being very frank because normally I don't speak of these things. Okay, but this lady, she had the experience of the self. Okay, when she was making love with her husband. Okay, her being shot out, and she had the experience of the self. And then she came here to the ashram, and she was completely changed person after that. Not coming here, even in New York. And she had that little book called The Mother, and she used to carry that book everywhere. But she was afraid that other people would see it, so she covered it up very carefully. And every time she opened and saw, there's tears in her eyes. And then there is questioning. She started questioning herself. What is the purpose of life? What is it? So this is one example where I'm telling you that our idea that this is something that has to be avoided is not true. Okay, it is avoided. The attachment has to be avoided. Again, what I'm saying, misinterpretation is possible. Okay, So long as you are subject to normal human nature, okay, whether you are in the sattva, rajas, tamas, certainly you have to avoid it. Okay, but after that, it is something else altogether. It makes no difference. But you must not misinterpret what I'm saying. It's very subtle. Okay. So, once you are in the witness self, the action does not matter. It's the attitude with which you are doing that matters. Okay. That's the most important thing. Same way smoking. Okay. But he's not attached to it. Okay. So when Gandhi's son came and said, why are you attached to smoking? Simla's counter was, why are you attached to non-smoking? The attachment is a problem. So when you are attached to virtue, okay, then you are a very ordinary Elizabethan. Okay, you are a very prim and proper. Okay, that's not spiritual life at all. Okay, that's a morality. These things one has to become very clear in the mind. Okay, it's 8:50 nearly. Sorry, we'll have to stop. Okay. We'll take up this paragraph again next time. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Bonne journée,
Thank you,
Rangada.
Rangada.
Merci beaucoup.
Bonjour.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Rangada.
Okay, au revoir.